संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते So Latu Maharaj, Swami Adbhutananda's birthday is just around the corner. That's why we are discussing his great life. So you must have seen the subheading, Latu Maharaj, the great spiritual teacher. So this may seem a little strange subtitle for Latu Maharaj, because we know that he was even greater than Sri Ramakrishna in one respect. Yes, he was greater in one respect. How Sri Ramakrishna at least could read and write a little, but with Adbhutanandaji, Swami Latu Maharaj, reading writing was absolutely out of the question. So in ignorance of the 3 R's, he was even greater than the master. Even the master could not make him learn how to read and write. He gave up the attempt. So even Sri Ramakrishna failed, just imagine. So we generally know Latu Maharaj as a simple, unlettered person. So how could he become a great spiritual teacher? That may be the question which arises in our mind. But in spiritual life, these are the people who become the best teachers, who have no egotism, who are unassuming, but still who possess the rarest spiritual wisdom. So we should remember that those who want to be teachers cannot be teachers in spiritual life. Their very desire to become teachers will stand as an obstacle. So when these illumined people teach, they don't have even the sense of that, even that ego they don't have, that I am teaching. That also the consciousness they don't have, because they actually see that it is God's power which is working through them. So it is not that they want to be teachers, but God makes them teachers. Like Swami Vivekananda never wanted to go and preach, but Sri Ramakrishna forced him. No, you are born for this purpose. Similarly, Shankaracharya, all that he did was according to the instructions of the Guru. So this we have to remember. And as for being unlettered, spiritual knowledge has nothing to do with book learning. So I will quote Swami Vivekananda in this respect. He says, religion is neither in books, nor in intellectual consent, nor in reasoning. So for us, most 99.9% religious is just an intellectual consent. That's all. Yes, God is there. He should be there. And after that, we are not really much concerned. And of course, reasoning, we may reason to the ends of the earth. But we won't become spiritual by that. So next, Swamiji says, reason, theories, documents, doctrines, books, religious ceremonies. These at the most are all helps to religion. But what is real religion? He says, real religion consists in realization. If there is a God, we must see Him. If there is a soul, we must experience it. Those who think that they are religious but they don't even try to actually experience these realities, they can't be called actually spiritual. So next, Swamiji says, the man who cannot even write his own name can be perfectly religious, highly spiritual, while the man with all the libraries of the world in his head may fail to be so. So book learning is not a condition of spiritual growth, neither is scholarship. So if, as Swami Vivekananda says, only realizing spiritual truths is a condition of being spiritual, Latu Maharaj was the very personification of spirituality. You must know this famous quote of Swami Vivekananda. He has said, Latu is the greatest miracle of Sri Ramakrishna. Having absolutely no education, he has attained to the highest wisdom simply at the touch of the Master. So this lack of formal education made Latu Maharaj unique among Sri Ramakrishna's disciples. Not that all of them were scholars, but they were at least, in this sphere, they were better than Latu Maharaj, so to say. So this actually turned out to be an advantage, because perhaps because of lack of formal education, his mind was uncluttered by intellectualism, therefore did not learn to doubt. We read 10 things, then we begin to doubt each and everything. But his mind was so pure that he obeyed the instructions of his Guru implicitly. There was not the least room for any doubt whatsoever. So there was no wastage of energy in thinking whether this is right or wrong. And that he was to be a teacher in future was prophesied by Sri Ramakrishna himself. He said, in an ecstatic mood, he told Latu Maharaj, that was in the days when he was in Dakshineshwar, one day the gems of the Vedas and Vedanta will pour out from your lips. So you can say that Latu was commissioned and blessed by his Guru, and this prophecy later came to be fulfilled to the letter, as we shall see in brief. So when we are examining Latu Maharaj's life as a great spiritual teacher, in a brief manner, let us see what are the qualities a spiritual teacher has to have. So let us go to Swami Vivekananda. He says, there are 3 qualities primarily which a spiritual teacher has to have. First, he should know the secret of the scriptures. Secret means essence, not just the words. Explaining this, Swamiji says, the whole world reads scriptures, Bible, Vedas, Quran and others, but they are only words, external arrangement, etymology, philology, the dry bones of religion. The teacher may be able to find what is the age of any book, but words are only external forms in which things come. So those who deal too much in words lose the spirit. So the teacher must know the spirit of the scriptures, not merely the words. Second, the second condition necessary in the teacher, he says, is that he must be pure, absolutely pure in heart and soul. What can an impure person teach? He knows nothing. Spiritual truth is purity. Blessed are the pure in heart, Jesus said. He did not say that those who are scholars will see God. No. Only those who are pure in heart can attain spirituality. What is the third condition? Swamiji says the third condition is motive. He should not teach with any ulterior motive for name, fame or anything else, but simply out of love, out of compassion. So these are the three qualities according to Swamiji which a teacher should have. So in a little time we have, we will just see, we will just go through some reminiscences, some incidents about Latu Maharaj's life, all very interesting, so that we can see for ourselves how Latu Maharaj excelled in all these three qualities. So about his purity, what can puny creatures like us understand? But by God's grace, we have records of what? We have records of what other disciples of Sri Ramakrishna have said about him, and also we have a record of the great spiritual heights he had attained. So, no less a person than Swami Brahmananda himself once said to a devotee. See, Latu Maharaj maintained a outward, semblance of sternness. The one who went to the first time used to be a very stern and dry monk. So people would be sometimes drawn away. But maybe he did as to prevent an intrusion against those who just came for the sake of it, just for the curiosity. So, however much he tried to be unassuming and hide himself, people slowly began to be attracted by his extraordinary personality. So, Swami Brahmananda once said to a person who felt hesitant to go to Latu Maharaj for this reason. He said, "Why are you afraid to go to Latu Maharaj? How many such monks can you find, so austere, so strict in observing the guiding principles of a monk's life? Yes, he has kept up a rough exterior, but that is to avoid a crowd. But inside he is all mercy and kindness. If you mix with him just a few days, you will find that he is completely free from any type of egotism. It is due to great merits in previous births that a man can get the company of such a monk." So this is Swami Brahmananda, the spiritual son of Sri Ramakrishna. And of course, his purity is also evident from the incidents where we find that even when he was very young, when he was at Sri Ramakrishna, he had developed such tremendous power of meditation. It is unbelievable. So we will quote two instances, there are others also. So one day at noon, the master sent Latu to one of the Shiva temples. Those who have seen Dakshineshwar, there is a big Kali temple, in front there are Shiva temples. So Latu Maharaj had gone at the instructions of the master to meditate there, but maybe he had gone in the morning and it was late afternoon, but he did not return. So the master himself came to see what had happened. So when he entered, he says, "When I entered the temple, I saw Latu sitting motionless, deep in meditation and perspiring profusely." So this is one of the other disciples of the master. He saw Latu Maharaj in that condition, then went to the master to report. So then the master himself decrease the volume. So then the master himself came and started fanning Latu. Latu began to tremble. the master said, "My boy, it is twilight. When will you set the lamps and light them?" Because there's a custom, when there is dark, we light all the lamps. So at the sound of the master's voice, Latu slowly began to regain consciousness. He opened his eyes and seemed puzzled to see the master before him. So he was very much embarrassed that the guru is fanning him. So he said, "What are you doing? It is I who should be serving you." Then with great affection the master said, "No, my boy, it is not you I am serving, but Lord Shiva who is inside you. Did you not know that he has entered into you?" Just imagine. This was our Latu Maharaj. Again, one amazing incident. This was related by the elder Gopal. Elder Gopal was the oldest of Sri Ramakrishna disciples. In age, he was even older than the master. So, he relates this incident. One day, Latu was meditating on the banks of the Ganga. He used to choose a seat above the level to which the water rose during high tides. However, that day the water rose unusually high, up to where he was sitting in meditation, and continued rising. But Latu was so absorbed that he did not even feel the water. He was absolutely no consciousness of the body. So immediately Elder Gopal went and reported it to the master. Master came hurriedly. He waded out through the water to where Latu Maharaj was and brought him to normal consciousness. So this type of power of meditation is absolutely unbelievable, and this is when he was a young boy, when Sri Ramakrishna was still there. So afterwards you can imagine what his high state was. We can never even imagine. So another disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, very great soul, Swami Premananda, told one of Latu Maharaj's close devotees about him, about his purity. "You have nothing to fear because you have received the grace of Latu Maharaj. Such a loving monk is rarely seen. By the very touch of the air he moves in, you will be purified and blessed." Just imagine. And Girish Chandra Ghosh, you must be knowing, he remarked to a devotee a similar thing he said. He said, "If you want to see a monk such as the Gita describes, the perfect monk, go and see Latu Maharaj." So the devotee did not understand what Girish wants to say. So Girish told him, in the second chapter of the Gita, the man of steady wisdom is described. Steady wisdom means he has attained the highest goal. That is called Sthita Pragya. So all those qualities you can see exemplified in Latu Maharaj's character. And as for knowing the spirit of the scriptures, he knew as very few did because of his great realizations. So Swami Vivekananda says at one place that if you have seen a certain country, but a man, any one person, he tries to prove that you have not seen it, he can never shake your belief. Suppose I have gone to Toronto and somebody tries to make me believe I have not seen Toronto. He cannot make me believe because I know I have seen in my heart of hearts. So similarly, Swamiji says, when you experience God, when you experience religion, then nothing and nobody can shake your belief. So you'll be so firm in your belief that you'll have no doubt at all about that experience. So any questions pertaining to that state, you will be able to answer immediately. So this we see in all the great souls of the world. Any question pertaining to spirituality, they were in never any doubt, except some minor things. So it is amazing if we study the reminiscences of Latu Maharaj, it is amazing how even without reading a single letter of the scriptures, he would answer abstruse questions about Vedanta. So one day a devotee by the name of Shashadhar Ganguly, he was a teacher, asked him, can the Atman be an object of knowledge? This is a very abstruse problem. Can we objectify the Atman? Like I see a book, I see a table, so I objectify those things. I know I am seeing a book. So can we objectify the knowledge of the Atman? Can the Atman be an object of knowledge? So Latu Maharaj says, an object is something that cannot be known without the help of something else. See, when I see a book, I cannot see it without the help of my eyes, without the help of my mind. So he says, no, Atman cannot be seen that way. Why? Because Atman is self-revealing. So you cannot make the Atman an object of knowledge. Then that person asked, then why should we want to know the Atman? Why should we want to know? It is good, we are quite okay without knowing. So Latu Maharaj says, because the Atman is our real nature. Then that person again asked, if the Atman is our real nature, then why are we not aware of it? So Latu Maharaj says, see, first of all, no one can deviate from his real nature. If he does, it cannot be called his real nature at all, because it will be changeable. It will come and go. So man's real nature, he says, is covered by a dense cloud of ignorance. But this does not mean that he has deviated from his real nature. Then he gives the example. How to regain our true nature. He says, everyday examples which anybody can understand. He says, haven't you seen the polishing shops in Calcutta where they have glass jars filled with colored liquids? So he is talking about the metal worker. Somebody brings a metal which is rusted or with time the color has changed. So what does the worker do? He takes a tarnished brass pot and dips it into a jar which contains some polishing substance. Instantly all the tarnish goes away and the pot starts to glitter. Then he dips it into another jar and it may turn into a golden color, something like that. Similarly, he says, if you want to realize your real nature, dip your mind in the jar of God's name. And all the unclean stuff which is preventing you will be washed away. Then again take it out, dip it in the jar of God's grace. You will see how beautifully your real nature will shine forth. Then another incident. This is a very interesting, as well as this shows to what heights Latu Maharaj attained and also his simplicity. So one day Latu Maharaj went with Swami Shuddhananda. Shuddhananda was a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. I think he had received initiation from maybe Holy Mother, but no, he had received initiation from Swami Vivekananda himself, I think. So with Swami Shuddhananda, he went to class, scriptural class, which was being a discourse given by a great scholar, Pandit Shashadhar. These were very great scholars, mind you. They were known all over for their wonderful scholarship. So this scholar was giving a discourse on one of the Upanishads, Katha Upanishad, which we will study, of course, later. So the scholar was reading the verse. This verse describes how the soul has to be separated very carefully from our mind and body. So this verse says the Purusha, no larger than a thumb, the inner self, always dwells in the hearts of men. Let a man separate him from the body with perseverance, as one separates the tender stalk from a blade of grass. So those who have tried, when we perform worship, we do that. So very thin grass, and you have to be very careful. If you apply too much pressure, it will break. So they are so stuck so closely that very carefully you have to separate them. So as soon Swami Shuddhananda was there with Latu Maharaj. Latu Maharaj was there. So immediately when Latu Maharaj heard this, he could not contain his joy. He said from where he was sitting, just the thing, just the thing. Means he's tallying with his own experience. Then he was not satisfied. He was so much in joy that Swami Shuddhananda used to stay with him at that time. So maybe in the middle of the night, he used to shake him. Sudhir, the Pandit was right, The Pandit said the right thing. It is just that. Just imagine how he sees great realization and also his simplicity. So another incident is there that although Swami Adbhutananda could not read the scriptures, but he used to enjoy hearing them. So Swami Shuddhananda was then staying with Latu Maharaj. So for Latu Maharaj, day and night there was no difference. So at midnight he used to wake up Shuddhananda. Sudhir, Shuddhananda's name was Sudhir. Sudhir, read the Gita to me. So at midnight, he used to read the Gita to Latu Maharaj, because when a person like Latu Maharaj says, you don't say no, it is a great privilege. So, then another question, which is a very common question, but see how Latu Maharaj answers in such a simple way, giving everyday examples which we can understand. So one devotee asked a very common question, how can we love God or surrender to Him when we have not even seen Him? You are asking me to love God. Where is God? We have no inkling about Him. How can you love such a thing, such a person, such an entity? So Latu Maharaj gives the solution. He says, don't you send your application for a job to the manager of a company without ever having seen him. You have not seen a manager, but you are sending your job application to him. Your interview with the manager depends upon sending your application, so you have to send. So what do you write? You write that, sir, please appoint me for the job. I shall be extremely happy to serve you. I promise my unswerving obedience to you, all these things. I am just quoting Latu Maharaj here, and so on. And you write all this without having seen the manager, don't you? Similarly, you can send an application to God, but this application is not to be written on paper, but on one's mind. You can pray to God, O God, may I never forget your name. I take refuge in you. Please assign me to your service and destroy my ego and doubts. You are my master, guru, father, mother, all in all, and I am your child. Make me your instrument. O God, I have not seen you, I have only heard your name. So please make me your own. So this is the application. So he says you will have to pray like this daily, unceasingly. Only then God will bestow His grace on you. So it is needless to say that he could solve these intricate points of philosophy, complex problems of spiritual life in such a easy way because he saw the solution as tangibly as one sees any other object of the world. So once two Western ladies came to him. They belonged to an atheistic society. They did not believe in God. But they were very good people. They believed in humanitarian work, social service. So when they came and started discussing with Latu Maharaj, so Latu Maharaj said, why should you do good to others? Where lies your interest in that? If, he said, you don't believe in the existence of God, there will always remain something lacking in all the good works you do. Humanitarian work, social service, etc. is a matter that concerns the good of the society. That is okay. But how will it do good to you? So what will happen, he said to them, after some time, you will get tired of doing that work. Because years may go by, you will feel that you are getting nothing. So many times it happens, people start with good motives, they start an organization, then what happens? They start fighting among themselves. Because you cannot remain with zero, you have to get something. So they start trying to get a good post or something other, maybe financial remuneration, something like that. So he says, after some time you will get tired of doing the work that does not serve your self-interest. On the contrary, if you believe in God, there will be a perennial source of interest. Why? Because the same God resides in others as in you. So you are serving God in all ways possible. And God is your very self. Then the lady asks, but how can you prove that God resides in everything? So Latu Maharaj said, it can be proved, but it is a subjective experience. Then he gives the example. People say, I love you, if you say to somebody. If he asks, prove your love to me, can you prove it? It is a subjective experience. So only the person who loves understands it, and the person whom he loves understands it. The same is the case with God. He knows, and whom he blesses knows. For others it will be an enigma. So the lady again asks, how is it possible that I am the soul? I am finite, God is infinite. Latu Maharaj said, where is the difficulty? Yet the perception of truth as clear as daylight. So he said, where is the difficulty? Have you not seen jasmine flowers or any flowers for that matter? He gives the example of jasmine flowers. He says, because that's a particular reason why he gives it. He says, the petals of those flowers are very small. But even those petals have dewdrops falling on them. And these dewdrops reflect the infinite sky. Do they not? In the same way, through the grace of God, this limited self can reflect the infinite God. Then again, another person who had studied philosophy, he asked Latu Maharaj, how can an aspirant grasp Brahman, which is infinite? So see the answer which Latu Maharaj gives. You have heard music. You have seen how the strings of an instrument brings out songs. In the same way, the life of a devotee expresses divinity. So, in the life of Latu Maharaj, it is said, I quote, that a Sanskrit poet once said that the ideal human character is as strong as a thunderbolt and as soft as a flower. Here we come to the great love which Latu Maharaj had for one and all. So Latu Maharaj's outward manner was stern and sometimes even forbidding. But once a person got close to him, you would find that the Swami was sweetness and tenderness itself. And when he was in a mood to talk, he would be very free and sociable. Even young children would like to play with him and would sometimes climb on his shoulders. So till afterwards, Latu Maharaj shifted from Calcutta to Varanasi, and he never returned. So he passed away in Varanasi or Kashi as it is known. So till his even the final days, he continued to help those who came to him. So a householder devotee of the Master once wrote to Latu Maharaj. When we are talking about love, no? So let's see what Latu Maharaj says about love. So he wrote the letter and he conveyed his love. Latu Maharaj was very frank. He would not mince words. So he said, is it so easy to convey love to a person? A lot of spiritual discipline is needed to really be able to transmit love. What do ordinary people know about love? Only God can truly love, and illumined souls other than God, they are only able to transmit love. And on another occasion he said on this topic that your love, that is ordinary human love, springs from worldly attachment. Then he gives the example, animals play together, showing great love, but next moment you will see them fighting for food amongst themselves. So your love is like that. You people embrace each other and exchange sweet words, but the moment your own self-interest is harmed, you become angry. Moment there is something which obstructs your own desire, all the love vanishes in no time. So this another, how these people could know, although they were not educated, how these people could know the workings of the human mind. So one incident I will just, it is relevant to what we are seeing, that once Holy Mother was there. Holy Mother, it was before, or maybe just before the First World War maybe. Holy Mother passed away in 1920. So the war was going on, raging maybe, or just before the war. So one person used to give her the news of the war. So he used to quote what the great leaders are saying. We don't want war, we want only peace, blah, 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 everything. So Holy Mother listened to all that. Then she said, my child, all these are very good if these people really mean what they say. Then she said, but they don't mean what they say. It is all lips, not from the heart. Just imagine, how could she know the inner workings of the human mind? So here also, Latu Maharaj said this. So Latu Maharaj, sometimes you generally used to have two methods of teaching. One was through jokes or in a light-hearted manner, but sometimes he would scold also. But those scoldings had so much love that people did not mind. One devotee once told him, Maharaj, your scoldings are like chocolates in the shape of bayonets. They are so sweet and loving. Parents scold for the good of their children. But your scoldings are still sweeter, for parents can never give us so much love. So, in demonstration of this, I will quote a reminiscence of a very great scholar, Pandit Vishnu Tarkaratna. So, Tarkaratna and all these appellations are given, when they are very great scholars. So this great scholar said about the unlettered Latu Maharaj, I derive great joy and satisfaction on hearing the great spiritual truths being explained so simply and lucidly by this unlettered monk. And with it also we come to understand the glory of our Master Shri Ram Krishna. Why he enjoyed? He said, this is because Latu Maharaj's understanding of spiritual truths was not born of scholarship only, but a direct apprehension of those truths through his austere discipline. We lived with this great soul for a long time, tried our best to understand him, analyzed his actions and sayings in the light of modern thoughts, yet he remained a mystery to us. A power and blessing unfathomed and unfathomable. Despite his frankness and simplicity, we could have no inkling of his greatness. So some of us used to think, who is this man dazzling everybody with the glory and splendor of Shri Ram Krishna? Is he that simple boy, cowboy, Rakturam of Bihar, transformed by the grace of Shri Ram Krishna into Swami Adbhutananda? Is such a transformation ever possible? They used to wonder. Then another question which is often rises in our hearts, because if we are not devoted to God, sooner or later life becomes a burden. We may not express it, but when youth has gone, people whom we loved may be attached, they start going, our vigor goes. All those things upon which we used to depend for our so-called happiness, they start going, then we find that life is not so rosy. So one devotee asked Latu Maharaj about this, that Maharaj, do you people also, spiritual people also sometimes feel that life is a burden like we do? So see how he combines this answer, you see, what genius he says. He says that sometimes it may happen you are carrying a big burden on your head, but you don't feel the burden. What is the example he gives? When you take a dip in the Ganga, you go underwater, go down, maybe several feet. There is such a heavy load of water on your head. But do you feel it? You don't. Similarly, in this world, if you immerse yourself in God, you won't feel the weight of the world. You will be in the world, because where can we go other than the world? Before we die, we have to be here. So when this is done, he says the world will get divinized. It becomes God's. It becomes saturated by God to the core. So he gives another example. Now the burden may appear heavy because it is cut off from the Lord. Your world is pure matter. You don't see consciousness. But once it is spiritualized, you won't feel any burden at all. Then he quotes the great saint Swami Tulsidas. Tulsidas ji says, one who takes refuge in someone is protected by him. If you take refuge in a good person, he will protect you. How? He says, a very small fish goes swimming in the ocean against the current. No problem. It does not face any problem. But he says, quoting a mythological fable, he says, the great elephant of Indra, it is said in one of the stories, he was also washed away by the river. But that little fish can swim without any problem. Why? Because it takes shelter in that ocean. So we can go on and on. So we'll just see a few more examples of his love. In our scriptures it is said that even those who are impure, they become free from all their sins by associating with the holy. So these type of saints like Latu Maharaj, they turned away nobody. And the same was true of other disciples, especially Swami Premananda. Prema means love. So he was named Premananda because he was so full of love. Even very ordinary people like us, they could go to him and even tell him of his mistakes, of our mistakes and all those things. But they would never hold anything against anybody. So once a devotee had done something wrong and he was feeling very guilty. So Latu Maharaj heard about that. That this person is not feeling good, something has happened. So he called the devotee to him. And he told him with great love, look here, my son, just because you have made one or two mistakes, you should not feel dejected and give up your spiritual practices and keep on brooding over your lapses and think that everything is hopeless now. Not at all. To err is human. Call on God. He will give you the strength to overcome weakness and destroy your delusion. He is the compassionate one. However great our sins may be, the current of God's mercy will not be kept from us. How little is your sin? Now just you have done one mistake and you are feeling so depressed. Do you know what Swami Vivekananda used to say? He used to say, don't worry about a little spot of ink on the body. It is nothing. If one bathes in God's infinite ocean of mercy, the stains of 1,000 ink spots will also be washed away. So I am telling you, do not grieve. Pray unceasingly and your bad tendencies will go away in a very short time. So let us end by just one revelation of Latu Maharaj himself. Once Swami Sardananda, actually Sri Ramakrishna used to sometimes ask his disciples that what form of God you will like to see in which way you like to experience God. For him it is nothing, just one touch, maybe he could give that, because of course they were also, that capacity was there in them. So he once asked Swami Sardananda, who has written the biography of Sri Ramakrishna, that in which way will you like to experience God? So Swami Sardananda said, I won't be satisfied with seeing any one particular form of God. I would like to see God in each and every being of the universe, each and everything of the universe. So Sri Ramakrishna said, but that is the last word in spiritual life. Nothing is beyond that. So Swami Sardananda said, whatever it may be, I won't be satisfied till I reach that state. So see, we have proof from Latu Maharaj's own words of this state which he describes from his own experience. He says, I quote him, once we see God, the whole appearance, the entire scene of this world changes at once. What appeared to be matter and a conglomeration of matter now appears to be the spirit, the Atman, bewitching spirit. We see him then everywhere and in everything. The entire creation, every particle of it is saturated with that awareness, being and bliss of God. We realize that it is the Lord who is playing all these various parts, those of a thief, a saint, a drunkard, of rich, of poor, of the tyrant, and those who are tyrannized. God has become all these we actually see. And at the same time, we also see that He is the indwelling controller and guide, that He is making all these beings dance to His tunes. So whom to blame, whom to praise? He is present in everything, in every person, in every act. How is it possible for the impure jiva to understand this deep mystery? They think that they are the doers, they are doing everything. Just as the brinjals, potatoes and beans, when we boil those things, vegetables, so when the water begins to boil, those vegetables also begin to dance. So they may think that they are dancing of their own energy, but they don't know that as soon as the pot is removed from the heat, they will have no more energy left. Similarly, he says, all the beings are actually acting by the power of God, but they think that we are doing this, we are so great, all this. So, he says, carried away by this gigantic maya of God, some are seeing matter everywhere according to one's own inclination. A thief sees that everybody is a thief, like that. But some are full of bliss and they say bliss, they see bliss everywhere. But one thing is certain, unless a person experiences God, this riddle of the world will remain as baffling as ever. There is no other way. To attain peace, to attain bliss, to solve the riddle of life, there is absolutely no other way than to realize God, realize our own soul, realize the Atman. We can call it by any other name. So on this note, having heard about this great realization of Swami Adbhutananda, let us end here today. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri